Evening, everyone, and I would like to call this meeting of the Ordinance Committee to order on Tuesday, February 28th at 6:30 p.m. I am on Zoom tonight. I see that Councilor Jose Maldonado Velez is in the chambers.
By myself.
And committee member Cocaine Givner is on Zoom. Committee member Israel Rivera is on Zoom, and committee member Councilor Kevin Jordan is also on Zoom. Other folks who have joined us on Zoom include Juan Anderson Burgos, Ward 6 City Councilor, Attorney Bissonette, Councilor Will Puello from Ward 2, and Councilor Tessa Rambolet at large.
Chair Bacon,
So,
with us.
if I could ask you, Jose, to make the motion relative to taking up regular items, but having a roll call for all votes, that would be great.
Great, I'll do that. I also want to announce Councilor Bartley is with us here in the chambers, and so is our city engineer, Chris.
Okay. Welcome, Councilor Bartley, and welcome, Chris. And I would note to Chris that I have put you first on the agenda, but I've had a couple of requests to hopefully jump in after a few of the items with a couple of the public hearings, items 21 and 22, if the committee is so disposed to do that. If you could bear with us on that. They should not be lengthy, but we will certainly start with DPW first.
Cool. I would like to make a motion to take a roll call vote that for the purposes of this meeting would be applicable to all motions to suspend the rules, remove an item from the table, place items on the table, package items together, or open a public hearing unless there is an objection.
Is there a second?
Second.
So that this has to be a roll call. So Jose?
Yes.
Cocaine?
Yes.
Israel?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
And Linda Bacon, yes. Thank you very much. So now I would like to entertain a motion to take up items 1 through 10 as a package and turn the mic over to Chris Baker.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
All right, thank you,
So
Counselor.
Chris, you have the floor.
Okay, do you want, because item 10 is the left-hand turn on Whiting Farms Road. Do you want that bundled together? I'll just talk about speed humps first.
You can do the speed humps first. We can vote on them separately. Sure.
Okay. First off, I just want to point out I included in your packet a speed hump site condition and criteria for installation. It's not really a DPW policy. It's more of just a memo that I wrote to give everyone a sense of how these decisions are made and some information about the industry standards about speeding and what speed humps are. So this is, you can feel free to circulate this to any, residents that may be wondering what the benefits are or what the decision making that goes into deciding whether or not to recommend speed humps. So that's just something for transparency's sake. So in the packet also, there are a couple of tables. So table 2 and 3 provide the statistics of the speed and traffic count data that was performed on October 19th and 20th. It was a 48-hour traffic count and speed radar study that was conducted. So this data is what is being used to look at recommendations for speed humps from different petitions. And Councilor Bartley pointed out, I did add Laurel Street. That was something that came in late. The hillside locations ended up being a petition, but those did come in late, and I was able to add them in October. So,
Okay.
So if we start on table 2 with Bray Park Drive, these ones have already been presented by the previous city engineer, I believe in June of last year. Mm-hmm. So this is actually a replication of the same data that was collected. So Bray Park Drive. It is not recommended by myself to install a temporary speed hump there. The biggest thing that I'm looking at on most of these is the 85th percentile speed. So there it's 29. If it's less than 30, if it's really 30 miles per hour or less, speed humps really have a minimal benefit because they're getting cars down. If you look at in Table 1, Michigan Ave, you can see that the speed limit went from 32 to 27. So you're getting, closer to the speed limit with 27, but if the 85th percentile speed is already at 29, you're having minimal benefit, getting down to something around 27 using speed humps. So if you're moving over to, in Table 2, looking at Upland Road, now the 85th percentile speed there was 32, and in that case, temporary speed humps would be recommended, looking for a permanent installation once the residents get a sense of what the temporary speed humps are like, and we're also able to collect before and after data so that we can make sure that they're actually having an impact. Moss Avenue, this was also primarily due to the 85th percentile speed only being at 28. There's also a pretty low traffic volume on that road at 147 cars per day. We've got, let's see, that is, so then Fenton is also a no, and Memorial Drive is also no. So all this information was previously presented, so I don't know if I need to go into any more detail on that. We can look at the Table 3 with McIntosh, Bemis, Hampshire Street, Hills. There's two locations on Hillside, A and B. A was between Columbus and Brookline, and B was between Winthrop and Arnodale. So going down McIntosh Terrace, the 85th percentile speed was 31. It also is in close proximity to a school, so that's in the memo that I circulated. That's one of the other things that can be considered is proximity to parks and schools and other sensitive areas like that. So it is recommended in that case. Bemis Road, same thing, very high speeds on that road. It would be recommended. Hampshire Street, the 85th percentile speed was 29. It is in close proximity to schools and church, but the speed only being 29 is not recommended. Hillside, also speeds at 28 and 30. And then Laurel Street, the 85th percentile speed is 34. So that I know there's not an order for that, but the data would indicate if there were someone would like to propose that, it could be indicated there. So I'm not sure. I talked to the street superintendent. He does believe that we would be able to install the temporary speed humps this year at Upland, collect that speed analysis, and then move them over to McIntosh Terrace would be the next location for this year. And if there's time, we would get to Bemis, but there may not be time for that this year because it does take. I forget what he told me. I think it's like 6 crew members, 3 full days to install them because I think there's like 600 bolts on each of the temporary humps, and they're in pairs, installed in pairs. So it's a lot of work to get the temporary speed humps installed. So that's why we're just trying to commit to doing 2 different locations this year.
Thank you for that overview, Chris. If any counselors that have filed orders relative to his report have any questions, I'd like to just open up the floor for them.
Councilor Bartley has.
Councilor Bartley?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, Chris, this is all very helpful. I'm just going to clarify a couple things, and then I'm just going to raise a point of order as well for the committee to consider. Each of these, whether it was for Argyle or Moss or Fenton or Memorial or McIntosh, they all happen to reside in the ward that I'm lucky enough to represent. And these were all citizen-initiated petitions. citizen-driven petitions. In other words, they were just filed under my name as a Ward 3 counselor. I just want to make sure that that's abundantly clear. My take, generally, when I hear from the city engineer, is to follow and support the recommendation, and I'm going to recommend to this body that it does the same tonight, in order for us to be consistent. I will note that we've had conversations in committee before, Madam Chair, where we understand that the engineer is recommending. It is this body that sets the ordinance. It is the full city council. The ordinance committee would craft it, and then the full city council would vote on it, regardless of whether or not the city engineer green lights it or red lights it. But I'll let the committee do what it will, of course, and I just want to put in my 2 cents for this. So I think these recommendations are, when you look at the data, and for any constituents that are watching this on the aforementioned streets, it doesn't mean it's dead for the rest of all time. It just means that at this particular point with this data under this criteria, for the period, like I said, for the period of time that the tapes were on the road, it did not meet the standards as laid out by the city engineer. The city engineer doesn't invent the stuff. The city engineer is looking at national standards. The city engineer was gracious enough to provide a summary, which I'll put in a future newsletter for anybody. It was very easy to read. It's just one page. So I think with that, Madam Chair, I think I can stop for now. I'm just going to raise a very small point of order, Madam Chair, if I may.
Sure. Yes.
Regarding Laurel Street, it is on this table 3. In my opinion, it's well enough that we talked about as far as we did, but it is not on a public agenda. I think
Correct.
Talking about any further violates open meeting law. I also am not clear as to how it got here. That's for somebody else to discuss, because as far as I can tell, I have no recollection of any order, and that Laurel Street is in Ward 3 as well. I have no recollection of any order coming through. I have no recollection of any petition, which, as the chair knows, is a prerequisite, and it can't be just part of Laurel Street. So as the chair is fully aware, when anybody wants a petition for speed humps, all the criteria in ordinance, the clerk has a great 2-page spreadsheet as well as a petition. It's got to be for the entire street. So Laurel goes Brown to Northampton. So it's all well and good that the stats say a fraction of Laurel Street, but that's not what the law says. The law is crystal clear that if somebody lives on a street, it's the whole street, not the south part, the east part, west part, north part, whatever it is. It's not right in front of my door. It's the whole street. Everybody on the street, Madam Chair, has to let me rephrase that. 80% of the property owners on the street have to sign the petition. I have no evidence at all of this, so I think my point of order is that the Laurel Street debate should end right here, and so that's my point of order. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bartley. And I agree with your point of order. And I would note that there were 2 or 3 streets in the summary that Chris Baker provided that have either already been acted on and disposed of, but by way of summary, they were included on that report. But just to be clear for the public, the streets that we are making motions on and acting on tonight include Argyle Avenue, Moss Avenue, Memorial Drive, McIntosh Terrace, and Hillside Avenue. Those are the ones that are before us on the agenda for tonight. Is there any other discussion on any of these? So I would like to thank you, Chris, for that summary.
I think Councilor
Is
Jordan
somebody
had
wanting to
something
be
to say.
recognized?
I think Councilor Jordan
Well,
has something.
Madam Chair, it's Kevin Jordan.
Counselor Jordan.
Yeah, just one small fine point to what Counselor Bartley said was, I don't think it's technically the whole street. For some streets, it might as well be the street, but I believe it's the statute is, and of course, when I say statute, I mean ordinance, is 7857, and I believe it's called the impacted segment of the street.
300
But it's
feet.
300 feet in each direction, so that's
Right.
600 feet, so that's
Right.
pretty long. But I did want to ask, so for all of these that we're considering tonight, from item 1 all the way down to item 10, we have a petition that came in from 2/3 of the citizens on each of these.
1 through 9, yes. So you'll notice that some of them are repetitive. One agenda item is the petition, the other agenda item is the order. So there is some repetition. But yes, we have petitions for all of the streets listed on this agenda.
1 through 9, but not item 10.
Correct.
Okay. So, and the clerk verified that we have the 2/3 for the 600 feet or whatever impacted.
Yes.
Okay. And obviously in Hillside.
I'm not looking at each of them right at the moment, but it is my
No,
recollection that
All right,
yes.
but to get to this stage in the process, that would have been checked out.
Correct.
And in the case of Hillside, where there's 2 requested, it could be as much as 1,200 feet of signatures would be needed because there's 2 speed humps requested on that one.
Yes, and that is the most recent one that we had received.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so if everybody is all set, I'd like to entertain a motion first to receive the engineer's report as part of our record, and second, that we approve the recommendations as made by the engineer.
Can we just go through the recommendation one more time as we're going through these on the agenda? So just for my clarity.
Okay,
So if could we take it, the recommendation, so like, for example, we could say item 1 is, that's yes or no on Argyle Ave.
okay, so Chris, can you walk with us through this? I took notes on most of them, but I don't want to speak for you. So
Sure,
for
yeah.
item 1, Argyle Avenue,
Well, yeah, so for item 1, so there wasn't any data on Argyle, and I don't think had this been previously resolved?
I don't know.
Okay. So that one may need to be tabled again so I can look into it, because
Okay.
there wasn't actually, to my knowledge, any data collected, unless Bob did that way
Oh,
back.
okay.
Yeah, so
I'll
that
make a
one,
motion to table item 1 then.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? And we have to do roll call. Bacon, yes. Jordan?
Yes.
Givner?
Yes.
Rivera?
Yes.
Maldonado Velez?
Yes.
Okay, so the item 1 is tabled. So now, Chris, if
Item
you could help
2,
us out and let us know which ones you're not recommending.
yep, so item 2 is Moss Ave, and that's not recommended.
Okay.
And that's actually 2 and 3 combined, so
It's
that's
2 and 3, yes.
And then Fenton?
Fenton is not recommended.
And Memorial.
Memorial is also not recommended.
And number 6 is recommended.
Correct. So 6 and
And
7.
number 9, Hillside.
So that's 6 through 8. Yep. And then Hillside is not recommended.
Okay, so I'd like to entertain a motion that for items 2, 3, 4, 5, and 9, we accept the recommendation of the engineer and not recommend the placement of speed humps. All in favor? Roll call. Bacon, yes. Maldonado Velez?
Yes.
Givner?
Yes.
Rivera?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Okay, so those items are done, and now we are on to items 6, 7, and 8. I'd like to entertain a motion on that, which the engineer recommended to approve and place temporary speed humps.
Motion to take up items 6, 7, and 8.
And second,
So, and all in favor? Bacon, yes. Jordan?
yes.
Givner?
Yes.
Maldonado Velez?
Yes. Yes.
Rivera?
Yes.
Okay, so 6, 7, and 8 are as the engineer recommended. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Now we're on to item 10.
Did we need, okay.
Did you
And
do
item
9?
10, I'm sorry?
Is 9 done?
I
Counselor
just
Renee?
wanted to, yeah, wasn't there something, okay, 10 is a DPW item, but I just want to make sure we're able to do all the Chris Baker items, so.
All the what?
All the DPW engineer items in, together, so.
Yeah, we're-
Okay, I did have a couple of requests to try to move a couple of the public hearings, but I'll go to the will of the committee. So item 10 was filed by Counselor Bartley, and that's ordered that the city council and DPW amend any ordinances to allow for road improvements at Whiting Farms Road, to allow for a dedicated left-hand turn into Kmart Plaza, and to allow for motorists to also travel toward the mall in a dedicated lane. And so, Chris, if you have some feedback for us on that.
Yep, I do. I do have kind of a lengthy description of what was done as far as so traffic counts were conducted at the intersection of Whiting Farms Road and Route 5, and then also at a location down Whiting Farms Road to determine the traffic volumes there. Also, to get information about if we did install a left-hand turn lane back at the Kmart Plaza, if there would be issues with vehicles queuing in that left-hand lane and causing traffic backups back to the light. So it was determined that there's actually enough pavement width at that location. There's adequate sight distance. There wouldn't be issues with queuing. And so if the council would like to move forward, there is a suggested concept that was also included in your packet. So there can be striping done on Whiting Farms Road and a left-hand turn lane added. The island in the driveway to the shopping center would be reconstructed to take off the side of it, and a pedestrian refuge island would be left in the middle of it. So this is something that, I mean, I can take up. I would probably, this was, the concept design was done by our traffic engineering consultant. So obviously I reviewed it, but it's something that's feasible if the council would like to move forward with it.
Oh, well, thank you very much for that. I didn't file the order, but I've observed many people taking lefts into that plaza.
Yeah. I think the other issue, the other issue is just people turning around at the fire station, which is not an ideal situation. So I think it would really benefit. I don't really see a downside, since there is a safe way to do this. I don't see a downside to actually enacting it.
Okay, great. Counselor Bartley, as the filer of the order, do you have any
I certainly do.
questions?
No, I certainly have a comment. So this is one for the ages. So I'm grateful. This has been pending for probably 6 years. And so I'm grateful that we finally, Chris was gracious enough to spend probably 2 hours with me last year, and I'm hopeful we'll schedule it again with Mr. Rossi this year as well to take a ride around the neighborhood and see what's happening. And what Chris did on his own, but of course with me initiating it, is really get our feet on the ground at that intersection. It's a complete disaster, and I've said on council many times, the number of vehicles I see do that on a regular basis. I remember Councilor Lisi and I went over there once, and we for half an hour, we watched multiple cars do illegal turns in the Station 5, and then illegal turns, all sorts of marked vehicles too. It wasn't just civilian vehicles. There were marked vehicles as well. So the only thing we have to do now is, Madam Chair, is I'd like to, I'm hopeful that the committee will recommend we move this forward, and then at some subsequent meeting, we'll have to have a larger conversation with the mayor and the finance committee as to how to go ahead and fund this. And I think that's going to have to be done hand in glove with what's going to happen at Kmart Plaza. But it's good to know, Madam Chair, that the need has been recognized and a solution is in the offing. So I'm grateful for that. Thank you.
Okay, Counselor Givner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just wondering, I remember we talked about this, I would say, I don't know how long ago, maybe 6 or 8 months. I don't think it really matters. I was just wondering why it was changed to not allow a left turn to begin with, because it wasn't originally in this kind of formation. Like, I do recall a time when you could turn left right there. So I'm just curious as to the reasoning behind the initial change, because I just worry that we are spending money to change things back to the way they were. So I'd like a little clarification, and I obviously don't know everything about it, so I'd appreciate a little bit of info.
Okay, so
Well, the thumbnail sketch that I can give you on it is that there were different people in the different positions, and there were other road changes that have been made since the time that it could be taken and then it couldn't be taken. So the situation has changed today from what it was in both cases.
Councilor Bartley
So that street looks kind of the same as it did.
Well, there's different lights, there's the
Different
whole
businesses.
configuration with McDonald's is a whole different thing that took people off of that road into a queue, certain things like that. Now, I don't know all of the impacts,
Councilor Bartley may have some background.
but
as well.
I think it's fresh eyes, and I see Councilor Jordan wants to weigh in also.
Madam Chair?
Councilor Bartley?
Thank you. Yeah, I hopefully I can sum it up. I think the chair's right. The history on this is that the road on Route 5 heading south was changed in terms of signage probably around 2002, and what the councilor at the time wanted to do was to no longer have right-hand turns onto Whiting Farm Road and a left-hand turn into the plaza. What the councilor at the time wanted was to have all traffic using that plaza proceed south on Route 5 and use one of the 3 entrances that currently exist into Kmart Plaza as the sole entryways and exitways into Kmart, and then south, and then Stop and Shop and whatever else you want to call it, the far end. That was the reason it happened. The road hasn't changed. The signage that went up at the time and the traffic island that was installed was meant as a prophylactic to try to stop traffic from turning in there. It's probably the most ignored sign in the city of Holyoke. The council at the time, I think the heart was in the right place. The attitude was good. The rationale was okay. I just don't think that the enforcement, which that councilor could certainly argue that the enforcement is not there. But the chair will remember that's private property. So it's not up to HPD to enforce a no left-hand turn into private property. I realize that that's a city sign, but I think HPD has a problem issuing tickets to motorists going on private property. I think they would issue tickets, and they have, when they do a U-turn into a public safety complex like the Station 5 on Whiting Farms. That's a real problem, and I'm very grateful Chris brought that up as a refresher. The way this has been laid out for several years now, it just hasn't been optimal, because what motorists most want to do is not sit in traffic. So they dash down Route 5, they hop in the right-hand lane, they take the right into Whiting Farms, and they make the illegal turn around, cutting off cars, going around the traffic island, and causing multiple safety hazards. Whether or not there's accident reports that have happened on there, I know I've seen two myself, but there have been multiple near misses there. So it's not a case, I don't think, of redoing something. I think it's a case of finally having fresh eyes on this from a civil engineering perspective. And I think this is going to be a very positive change once it's fully implemented. And as I said, Madam Chair, it has to be with the cooperation of the mayor, the finance committee, and then, of course, what the owner of Kmart Plaza intends to do. And I think once those are kind of established, I think we can implement what we need to make that a safer thoroughfare. Thank you.
May I
Thank
just
you.
jump in?
I'm trying to recognize, go ahead, Chris, and then Counselor Jordan, you have the floor after Chris.
Okay, I just have one point to make, which is in response to Councilor Givner. So as the traffic stands today, that's what the traffic study just gets existing conditions as that intersection functions today, and so we're not seeing a problem with queuing in the left-hand lane. If this shopping center were to be redeveloped and built out and utilized in its full capacity, at that time, whatever the redevelopment company or group was, they would be doing a traffic study in association with all the traffic that would be generated from that new shopping center, store, whatever it is. So they could look again at this configuration, and it would be reviewed by the DPW and planning, and so those things would be caught at that time if indeed there would be a future problem with queuing in that left-hand lane. But that's really the biggest potential issue there, and probably what Councilor Bartley was talking about. There could have been at one time when Kmart was actually in here issues with queuing. So.
Thank you. Counselor Jordan?
Yes, so to expand on what Councilor Bartley, Councilor Givner asked a very good question. And forever and a day, what we're about, if we vote to do this, and I'll vote for it, to put it back, but this was always been the way it was, okay? It was changed because there were tons of accidents. And this is why this was stopped, because people were taking the left turn and people were coming down the hill, and there were lots of crashes, people coming out, people going in. And so the council 20 years ago was asked to make it the way it is today. So now we're hearing, and if Chris wants this and says, as the engineer, in my professional judgment, this is the best way to do it, I'll vote to do it. But we were told by the engineer at the time, remove it. So, and Councilor Givner also made a good point to say correctly, the street hasn't really changed that much. It's Whiting Farms Road is Whiting Farms Road. And by the way, that is a public way. And if people take illegal turns on a public way, you could be ticketed. But be that as it may, we have an issue with not enough tickets being handed out in this city. That's a bigger issue for maybe next Monday's meeting. But we have, there's definitely enforcement could be used, but whatever we're doing here, I like the idea of a dedicated left lane. I defer usually to the engineer almost always on these type of questions, and the engineer says this is the way is best for the city, then I will go along with that. But let's see if there's more accidents one way or the other that come from this. Hopefully not. Thank you.
Counselor Givner?
So, thank you, Madam Chair. Just a little more into this, and I don't mean to like beat it up, but so what I'm hearing is that we've spent money to get rid of the ability to turn there. We want to spend money to create a new turning lane with a queue, which I think is a good idea for that location. But it does concern me that, as I know we're trying to attract business to the Kmart Plaza, it sounds like we could end up right back here in a very short time period if a new like leaseholder or business moves in there and they have a bunch of traffic, then we're going to be talking about this again, because you create the same hazard will be there. And if there's a lot of cars going in that way, it sounds like the reason why there is no turning there right now is to avoid the inevitable, which is more business in that plaza causing traffic. So I'm interested to hear how much this costs, because we talk a lot about wasting money, and I just unfortunately feel like, although I think the plan looks good, I hate to think we're gonna look for money to pay for this just to redevelop it when a new business comes into that space.
Chair Reagan.
Thank you.
Chair
And
Reagan.
if the committee does recommend this to the council, it will have to go through a lot further costing and vetting relative to actually being constructed.
Chair Reagan.
So this is step one. Is that
Yeah, it's Maldonado.
Counselor
Velez.
Maldonado Velez?
Yes, I can't raise my hand virtually. Sorry.
Okay, you are recognized.
Yeah, I just wanted to make some points on this. I know Councilor Jordan just mentioned 2002. I was 12 at the time, but I do remember vividly when they took out the left turn and sort of like this feeling of like, oh yes, less accidents right there. But I think back in 2002, we also had way more businesses in that plaza. That of course the traffic was more. So I mean, following Councilor Givner's sort of concerns, I agree with. Like, I'm agreeing with this. The fact is 28 cars in an hour are taking a left turn, so it's not like they're not doing it. But we do gotta, think about what's in the future, because I'm assuming at some point Kmart Plaza will be redeveloped and the traffic will go up. So I just wanted to sort of echo a lot of Councilor Givner's concerns and Councilor Jordan's as well. I do have a question though with this to the city engineer. The
Sure.
plan that was made on here, it says no left turn symbol. So that's putting in a no left turn coming out of the plaza with this new design. Just want to make sure.
So R&D is remove and dispose.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thanks for the clarification. That's it.
Okay.
Counselor?
Counselor Givner, is that your hand new?
And Bartley
Yeah, it's new, sorry.
Councilor Bartley has her hand
Okay.
up as well.
Oh, sorry. Does someone else have their hand up?
No,
Councilor Bartley.
oh. I'll recognize you, Counselor Givner, and then Counselor Bartley.
Just, is the concern the illegal turning, or is the concern people turning around at the fire station? I'm a little confused about that. And if we need to fix the illegal turning, can't we just reshape the island so you can't physically turn in there? I mean, so that's my last question about this. Thanks.
Chris, did you want to jump in?
Sure. So the island, I guess they did attempt to reconfigure the island so that you wouldn't be able to take a left-hand turn. I don't know. I guess you could make it slightly more severe, but that was the idea with the shape of the island currently. And I think the issue is both, that there's left-hand turns and then turning around in the fire station. I guess unless you, I guess, live in Holyoke and shop in that plaza routinely, there's no way to know ahead of time when you take a right on Whiting Farms Road that you won't be able to get into the plaza, and you can see it at the intersection. So, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, thanks. Counselor Bartley?
Yeah, I hope what I said earlier was clear, but maybe it wasn't. I'm pretty sure I said that the prerequisite to getting this done has to be financing from the mayor, and it has to be the developer's plan going into Kmart as prerequisites to doing anything. So I thought I said it clearly, but I hope it was clear. It's clear now. Relative to what happened in 2002 with myriad traffic accidents, the situation the way it exists now is filled with traffic. So whatever was done in 2002 didn't help. It hurt. And it hurt in two ways. One, you're still having cars cut over, but now you're also having cars that really care about not cutting over, make a U-turn in front of a public safety complex. So whatever was done in 2002, I don't think worked. It was working fine before that, unless somebody can produce accident reports, but there were probably just as many now, either hits or near misses, with this disaster. And now where cars that are coming east on Whiting Farms Road, expecting motorists to obey the no left-hand turn sign, now are faced with the problem of cars ignoring the sign and going around the traffic island. In terms of creating a larger traffic island on that footprint, it's really not possible. So I think before councilors would be wise, I think, to go look at the site for themselves with their feet on the ground, as Chris and I did, as Councilor Lisi and I did, multiple other councilors have done over the course of years. Take a look and take a ride over there yourself and look at the situation. I mean, I'm the one that's done it and living with it on a regular basis, and so I hope there's. And then lastly, about wasting money, Madam Chair, when we make a public safety improvement, I hope that the thinking is not that we're attempting to waste money. I hope the thinking is that we're going to do it thoughtfully and that we're going to do it as conservatively as we can. But yes, there is going to be a financial component. But as I said multiple times, I'll say one last time, it may in fact be the burden of the developer of Kmart Plaza. And that has to come first before the city even thinks about spending any money. So hopefully that helps. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Rivera.
Hey, like Councilor Jordan mentioned, I'm probably gonna vote for it too. I am concerned with regards to the left turn, just because I live here, like not even a minute away. I also use that little pathway daily. I go to Stop and Shop on a regular basis. KFC for my daughter for her little, what do they call, popcorn chicken. But I have to go the long way, because if I take that little left, even if the left turn was there, traffic continues to come, right? And then if the light turns red, the traffic is gonna pile up. People are not gonna allow you to take that left turn. So taking that left turn to go into that lane is gonna be a crapshoot. I think I'm still gonna vote for it, because this is something that seems like Councilor Barton is passionate about, and some other people too as well. So I'm not that much against it, but at the end of the day, I can see why the concerns are there.
Thank you. I see a hand up in council chambers.
Yes,
Is there somebody wanting to be recognized?
That's me, Councilor Reagan, and I can use
Okay.
that feater as well in case other people
Sure,
want to speak.
sure. You have the floor.
Thank you. So one thought that comes to my mind is, can we put a sign somewhere in Northampton Street that says Plaza Entrance straight ahead? If there's already one there, there's 3 on Northampton Street. Going? Okay, cool. I'll check that out and see. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I will just say that I like the idea of a dedicated left-hand turn lane there, and people will decide which is the best option for them depending on whether the light on Northampton Street is green or red. I do think the cutoff into McDonald's took some of the traffic out of the left lane more easily than it had been in the past. So, I think it is worth exploring further and looking for a business person interested in developing the area to participate in the project, in that it would hopefully help the public and also their business in a safe way. And thank you, Chris, for working this up. And at this point, I would like to ask for a motion on this to hopefully put it to City Council.
Motion to approve.
It's a motion that we support the
Councilor Jordan,
recommendation.
did you say to recommend?
Yes, to approve item number 10 based on the engineer and ward councilor's recommendation.
Second.
Okay, do we have a second? Yes, I hear a second. So all in favor, Bacon, yes. Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
Rivera,
Yes.
Givner, Jordan,
Yes,
Givner.
Yes.
Okay, so that's 5-0, and that will go to City Council. Thank you all. Now, I have had a couple of requests to go out of order, but I've also heard from a committee member that wants to keep going on the regular agenda. So what is the wish of the committee?
well, Madam Chair, if I may, I just think as a courtesy to the city engineer, if he has other items, then we should do those now.
Okay, which is, I did promise that he could be first, and so we will stick with the plan. So then we are on to item 11, motion to take up item 11.
Second.
Second.
On favor? Aye. Item 11, to put signs at Lyman Terrace neighborhood stating resident parking only and have residents apply for parking permits. I believe this is a cleanup item and that we had determined that those streets aren't public, but I'll defer to Chris on this.
Yeah, I think there was a previous order about handicap parking signs, I believe. That was different. I don't remember this one previously, but
Okay.
That to say, from what I can tell, so in my memo I actually listed, so Lyman, Oliver, Hamden, John, and Front Street are all city-owned streets, but East and West Streets inside of Lyman Terrace are not city-owned. They're managed by the community builders and owned by the housing authority. So from what I could tell from section 86-106 of the ordinances, that parking on permits abutting housing authority property should be issued by the housing authority director. So I would suggest that Councilor Rivera take that up with the housing authority. And if any councilors know anything further about that ordinance or how that process should go, but I don't think that's something that the city DPW or that the council would be taking up.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councilor Givner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am not privy to the ordinance, but I do know that there's resident parking on Beach Street across from Wisteriahurst, which I've always found very odd. So I wonder if it's not somehow possible for some reason. So
Is that was
correct me
that
if I'm wrong.
just to clarify? So if it's the ordinance only relates to Holyoke Housing Authority resident parking, not public parking. So I'm not sure what type of parking that is, but there can be resident parking outside of the housing authority residents.
Councilor Bartley
So,
has a hand up.
Councilor Givner, a few years ago, and historically there had been some resident parking established. A few years ago, because there was a lot of confusion and controversy and disagreement about residents about it, we set up an ordinance, and so resident parking only is set up to be similar to speed humps in that a petition needs to be filed so that the city council can ascertain that it is a neighborhood-wide request. Because they became very complicated.
I see. So
Councilor,
it's a courtesy, not an ordinance?
The ordinance establishes a process similar to speed humps for instituting residential parking only. But in this instance, it appears to have a more complication because it's a budding housing authority, which is different. But separate from this, it is possible to do with a petition.
Councilor Bartley has her hand up.
Councilor Bartley?
Yeah, Madam Chair, your history is very good. I appreciate what Chris said there. I think what Chris said, and I'll stand corrected, is that the subject of this particular order pertains to private ways that are not officially recognized public. Is that not true? So
I don't think so. I think the question, it just specifically pertains to Holyoke Housing Authority residents. And that the ordinance is specific to those residents and parking around that parking around abutting the property of a Holyoke Housing Authority property is dealt with by the authority director. And the ordinance does read that it can be on a public street.
Well, if I may, so there's just through the chair to the city engineer, just so I'm clear, Chris, those are recognized public ways. They just happen to be under Holyoke Housing Authority property. Are they public ways?
So East and West Street are not, but Oliver, Hamden, all of those streets surrounding
Are public?
Lyman Terrace are public ways.
Okay, so East and West Street are private ways.
Correct.
So I'm going to agree with Chris to say that anything on resident parking permits for East and West Street would have to be provided by the Holyoke Housing Authority Director and Board of Commissioners. The Oliver Street and the rest of them that you just mentioned, those are public ways, and that would be subject to 86101?
106, yeah.
86106? Okay, and just to remind us, on Beach Street, clearly a public way, and the former Ward 4 councilor, once removed, wanted those to be for the residents that are directly across from Wisteriahurst, because that was getting very busy at the time, and the board of, or the city council, I should say, went along with the ward councilor's recommendation to support those residents in that area. Just as the city council supported an order I filed on behalf of residents in Ward 3 for resident-only parking, and just as city council supported for either Councilor McGee or Councilor Devine, I can't remember, for Ward 6, because there's a lot of resident-only parking just north of Holyoke High School in some of those Anderson Ave and some of those streets back there. So hopefully that helps. Thank you.
Okay, is there any, I don't see any other hands on this item, and the recommendation from our engineer is that this be referred to the Housing Authority. Can I have a motion?
Motion to refer the item to the Housing Authority so that can deal with issues.
Second.
All in favor? Bacon, yes. Maldonado Velez?
Yes. Yes.
Rivera?
Yes.
Givner?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Maldonado Velez?
Yes.
Okay, thank you all. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to take up item 12.
Motion to take up item 12.
So that's ordered that no parking sign be removed on one side of the curve at O'Connor Avenue Bend to add parking while keeping the corner safe and passable for service and emergency vehicles. Chris?
So I actually did not have a chance to look into this, so I'm asking that it be continued to the next meeting.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to table this to March 28th.
Motion to table it to March 28th.
Second.
All in favor? Bacon, yes. Givner?
Yes.
Rivera?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Maldonado Velez?
Yes.
Thank you. I think that was a yes, Councilor?
Yes, yes.
Maldonado Velez? Okay. Motion to take up item 13.
Motion to take up item 13.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
filed by Givner, Anderson, Burgos, and Puello, to create a don't block the box painting and signage to accommodate traffic flow on Beach Street at CVS entrance exit. Chris?
Okay, so in the memo, I actually provided a couple paragraphs and some rationale for my position on do not block the boxes. In general, according to the MUTCD, which is the Uniform Traffic Control Manual, essentially, do not block the box is really something that is most appropriate for a street intersection and or a public safety complex where obviously, if it's a fire station, you don't want to have cars queued in front of that driveway. Although it's not prohibited by the MUTCD to put a do not block the box in front of a commercial driveway or a residential driveway or really anything like that, it's not something I would recommend. It can create more accidents because not everyone can see the box on the road or see the signs, and there's gaps in traffic with people. There can be rear end accidents. It also makes the intersection less effective because you create gaps in traffic. So you're getting less vehicles through the intersection for every cycle. The other thing is that with the signal or loop detectors, it's sometimes, if they're video detectors, it may not see that there's a longer queue. These are just some of the reasons why it's not great for traffic efficiency. I guess the other point I just want to make, I know there's been different requests for these, and in general, I think my stance would be that unless there's very, very good reason, such as a public safety driveway, I wouldn't ever recommend these on a commercial or a private driveway, and they would really only be considered for public streets at an intersection itself. So I don't know if there's any other conversation, but as I said, I mean, if the council's will is to put this in, there's nothing that's strictly prohibiting it, so it can be done.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody who wishes to be recognized? I'm not seeing it. Oh, Counselor Anderson Burgos.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Chris, for that information. So after hearing Counselor Bartley's comments about the city taking on which direction traffic should exit when leaving a private property, now I'm questioning what I initially thought, which would be if we couldn't have a do not block, then to put a no left on that property when you're exiting that property, to not exit left. And the reason why is because, I mean, it is the CVS that I visit often when I go to pick up my medications, and I'm constantly challenging myself with the traffic that is going north and south. And so my concern is that it's not just there's other drivers that are having the same issues, and people who have reached out that live around the corner who've witnessed accidents. So I would like to actually see the do not block. But unless you think that it would be possible to have the no left turn. But if Counselor Bartley has an opinion on that, I'd like to hear it as well.
Counselor Bartley's gone for the night.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Okay, so that saves some time. So through the chair to the engineer, what are your thoughts on my comments?
I really couldn't make a comment on a no left turn there. Not having reviewed the data, there's really not much I can say. I mean, the CVS, the one kind of issue with that driveway it is very close to the intersection. So it changes the traffic pattern through the light, which does tend to, just having gaps in traffic and inefficient flow, it does tend to confuse drivers where people try and maybe pass through the gap, and it creates a lot of issues because of just driver perception. So I don't know, but if that's something you'd like me to look into, I mean, it's something I can look into, but it would just be based on essentially how traffic would queue given that changed condition.
Can
So-
a traffic study be done? Traffic study?
A traffic study can be done, but also to note that Mass DOT is currently in the
Working.
process actually of modifying that intersection and changing the signals. So I can, request that they look into that during their studies.
Yeah, could you do that? Just because I'd hate to put the do not block on there, and then once this work is done, that it changes how traffic flows, because then it would be pointless.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, do that. Let's through the chair and also the other Councilor Givner, if you feel that that's okay as well. I would suggest maybe tabling and until we hear back from the city engineer.
Motion to table item 10.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Bacon,
you.
yes. Givner?
Yes.
Maldonado Velez?
Yes.
Jourdain?
Yes.
Rivera?
Yeah.
So that item is tabled until we hear back from the engineer. And I would like to note that Counselor Jenny Rivera has joined us on Zoom. She's been here for a little while.
And I have a correction. That was item 13.
Oh, okay. So just for the record, it's item 13 that is tabled on the do not block the box at CVS. So a motion to take up item 14.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That no parking sign be placed in front of 5 Whiting Avenue at the request of the residents.
In the ordinances, there's no parking on either side at any time on Whiting Ave. And I requested that the DPW go down and install several signs down there just to make that more clear, which they did. So I would say that this order's been complied with.
Great,
Counselor
great.
Bacon.
Counselor Maldonado Velez.
Thank you. I just want to do a quick appreciation to our city engineer because we did put in this order back in October because of the resident FI Wedding Ave. It's a very narrow street, but very soon after there was across the street a situation where a mother was going through some medical procedures and was unable to bring their child to the bus stop. So it was Holy Public Schools was requesting that the child be picked up at the front, and the school bus was not able to go through the street. And within a week or two, they were able to get the signs up there, and the student was no longer missing school. So I just want to do that quick appreciation to our city engineer for getting that done for that street, those residents.
Great, great. So would you like to make a motion?
So yeah, motion that this is complied with.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Bacon, yes. Maldonado Velez?
Yes.
Givner?
Yes.
Rivera?
Yes.
Dane? Thank you. So that's 5-0 complied with for item 14. Motion to take up item 15.
Motion to take up item 15.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Order that the no parking sign be placed for no parking Friday mornings adjacent to the south of the entrance to the parking lot of 31 Beacon Ave on Waldo Street and to the south of the driveway directly across the street on Waldo Street. Chris?
Yep. So I actually met with a resident out there, and this does make sense. We were trying to kind of cut a compromise to allow people to park. He wanted it, I think, starting at 7 a.m. and I convinced him to push it back so that people who do work, a 9 to 5, really wouldn't be affected. So I just need to catch up with him and figure out exactly the time window and day that the parking would be restricted, but it would just be 1 day a week when the dumpster gets picked up so that the dumpster can swing into the lot.
Oh, okay, okay, I was sort of wondering, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Thank
just
you.
it's trash pickup, and I guess it's just never been a problem before because I think there's just more residents that maybe have some work vehicles or have multiple vehicles, so there's just more parking on that
Okay.
street than there used to be.
Oh, okay, great. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve this.
Motion that item 15 be approved.
Second.
All in favor, Bacon, yes. Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jourdain,
Yep.
Rivera.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, sorry, I know I'm mixing up the order now and then, just to make sure you're out.
Motion to take up item 16.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. That the city engineer remove the signs near 970, 980 Hamden Street.
Okay, this one got really complicated. There's a whole mess of issues on this one block, but in short, I met with Councilor McGee out there and the resident, and people were just parking in this very small area in between his driveway and a crosswalk that was already, it would be by ordinance a no parking area because of how close it was to both the crosswalk and the driveway. But we did install 2 additional signs that said no parking to make it additionally clear not to park in that section.
So I'm just a little confused because the order said remove.
So, yeah, and I don't. There's also a sign. So there was that issue, and then there's also a sign up near 982 that was previously adopted for the no parking, I guess,
Okay.
ordinance there to be removed. This is I went back and forth with Jeffrey on this actually because it had bounced around in many different forms.
Okay.
But I think we're clear that there's no parking in front of the 970, and so we installed the signs for no parking in front of that driveway in between the crosswalk, and then
Okay, and took it out
there
of
shouldn't
the
be
other-
a parking prohibition near Waldo Street.
Okay. Okay, so if we approve this, we're good?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Motion that
If
item
there's no
16.
discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion that item 16 is approved. Be approved.
Second.
All in favor, Bacon, yes. Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Rivera,
Yes.
Jourdain.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's 5-0. Okay, motion to take up 17.
Motion to take up item 17.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. The recently installed handicap sign at 363 Chestnut Street, please be removed by request of original petitioner. Something apparently changed.
Yeah, I mean, this is very straightforward. If this is the case, I noted the entry that should be removed from the handicap parking schedule table.
Okay.
And that order would just go to the DPW as a work order.
Okay, great. Can I have a motion?
So motion that item 17 be approved and sent to DPW for removal.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Givner, yes. Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
Rivera? Rivera?
Yes. Yes.
Jourdain?
Yes.
5-0. A motion to take up item 18.
Motion to take up item 18 up.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. That one out of the 2 handicap parking signs at 588 South Summer Street, as well as third sign on the Morgan side, please be removed. Only 1 spot was requested, 3 were installed. Chris?
Yeah, I'm actually asking if the counselor could meet me out I'm not sure if he's on the call, but I can get in contact with him. Because I know there's
Oh,
been.
I'm sorry, Will
I'm
Puello
on,
is
I'm
on
on,
the
I'm on.
call. I'm sorry, I didn't notice. I'm sorry.
Okay, would you be willing to meet me out there to kind of describe the problem? Because I know that there's been many requests about South Summer Street, and there's a lot of signage out there because of the school and all the different parking things. So I think it would be easiest if we met out there so you could kind of go over what you're looking for.
Yeah, that works, of course. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, do you want to send me an email and we can set something up?
Yeah, I'll do that right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so then, how about if we table this
Yeah.
to the end of March,
So motion that we table item 18 to the end of March, March 28th.
Second.
March 28th? All in favor? Bacon, yes. Maldonado Velez?
Yes.
Givner?
Yes.
Rivera?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Okay. Motion to take up item 19.
Motion to take up item 19.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Per constituent request that an additional handicap parking space be added at 204 Oak Street for Josephine Rivera. Although a designated handicap space was created during the summer of 2022, that space is regularly occupied by other vehicles with handicap placards, indicating additional need.
Yep. Yep. This is fine. I added in the memo that I sent the entry that could be added for Oak Street, and I just wanted to make note that the one that was added in May looks like it didn't get into the official list. So the two that I added in there, if it could be updated so it reflects both parking spots, and then the one that's being added, if that could be sent to the DPW for installation.
Okay, great. So could I entertain a motion to send this to legal to update the ordinance for both and to DPW to install, as long as we have our disabilities report from the commission?
Is
Is that
there,
a question or?
Do we have it in our packet, or maybe we'll have it by,
We should, because she already has a spot.
yeah.
right, so we're adding a spot.
Madam Chair, I can clarify that. So I spoke with Don Welch from Disabilities, and
Oh,
he said,
okay.
he said because one was already approved for the resident, it's not a matter of them having to approve another one if there's a need for another one because one's already being used. They're good with that.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you for reminding me of that. I think you had let me know that. All right then, so
motion.
then,
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Councilor Rivera.
Maybe it's for, I don't know for who it is, but how many of them can you have, the parking spaces?
Well, so it's need dependent, but I guess there could be a circumstance where if there were too many handicap spaces, it would start making it difficult for others to park, and then usually the ward counselor would start hearing from the neighbors.
But
But it's sort of a need-based thing, yeah.
all right.
Counselor Givner, oh, I'm sorry, Counselor Rivera, you're not finished.
No, that's fine. That's fine. It's cool.
Okay, but Counselor Givner, maybe you can share some.
Yeah, so what I understood, thank you, Madam Chair, what I understood from Mr. Walsh was that as long as there's a need, additional spots can be added. And since the spots are not actually, like, you need a handicap paperwork or designation in order to get the placard, but the placard's not yours specifically. So if there is additional need, the same person can request another placard, another space. And it sounds like she has a lazy neighbor who's not requesting their own. But maybe people just don't know how to go about it. But, if there's a need, obviously they can be added. And I haven't gotten any complaints from that neighborhood other than from Ms. Rivera asking for, additional spots because she finally got it put in and it's usually occupied. So,
Well, no harm in doing it the easy way, right?
yeah.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion on this.
Yep. So motion that we approve item 19. We send it to legal, and we send it to add it to the language and send it to DPW to install the new sign.
Second.
All in favor? Bacon, yes. Maldonado Velez?
Yes.
Givner?
Yes.
Rivera?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yeah.
Okay. On to item 20.
Thank you, Chris.
Madam Chair,
I'll entertain a motion to take up 20 and open the public hearing.
Jeffrey was gonna
just
say.
one quick question while Chris is still here.
Yes.
Just so that I have everything in order, it wasn't clear to me if items 15 and 16 are ordinance changes that we're going to need legal language for.
The no parking.
I just want to make sure I'm communicating with the law department if that's the case.
Chris, if you know, I don't
So,
know. 15 and
so
16.
for 16, no. The removal of the sign was the thing that needed an ordinance change. But the signage that's being put near the driveway, that's already a city ordinance, so it doesn't need its own line in the ordinance.
So, okay.
What was the other one you had a question on?
15?
15 and 16.
15 will, and so I'll have to get you the language for it once I get which day and the exact time.
So, in that light, good question, Counselor Maldonado Velez. Let's revisit item 15, reconsider our action and amend to send it to legal for language, for
Yep.
ordinance language.
So motion that we reconsider our actions for item 15. And
Second, and all in favor? Aye.
Okay. And motion that we approve item 15, but also send to legal for legal language.
Is there a second? All in favor? Bacon, yes. Maldonado Velez?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Did I hear you? Givner? Yes? Yes. Rivera?
Yes.
Jordan? Not hearing him.
Jordan, you're on mute.
Oh, how about now? Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you.
I was a yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now really on to item 20, but that was a good catch. I'll entertain a motion to take up item 20 and open the public hearing, please.
Motion to take up item 20, open up the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Item 20 is a special permit application for Small Wonders LLC at 109 Lyman Street for a marijuana manufacturing establishment. The owner has requested that the public hearing be continued to April 25th. So I'd entertain a motion to do that.
So motion to continue the public hearing for item 20 until April 25th at 6:30 p.m.
Yeah? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Bacon, yes. Maldonado Velez?
Yes. Yes.
I think you're muted, yeah. Givner, I'm reading your lips. Rivera?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Okay, so that item is tabled. Motion to take up item 21 and open the public hearing?
Motion to take up item 21, open the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Special permit application for Carefully Curated LLC at 400 Race Street to operate a marijuana manufacturing establishment. Just as a friendly reminder, this business had been approved for a special permit and has simply relocated not very far from their original location. And we do have a representative from Carefully Curated, Ezra, on the Zoom. So Ezra, can I turn it over to you for a summary, please?
Just hit the green button, make sure, yeah.
Thank you, Councilor Bacon. Let's see, so I will share my screen so I can just give a quick visual of
Can
what
you
we're doing here.
just mention your name and address for the public
Yep.
record?
My name is Ezra Parzybach. I'm in Northampton, Massachusetts, and I'm here on behalf of Carefully Curated.
Welcome.
Thank you. I am attempting to share my screen. Here we go. Got it. So I'm not sure if the Ordinance Committee remembers, but Carefully Curated is a formally permitted cannabis manufacturing company, very small company, run by Ryan Ferreter. He received a special permit late last year for the location on the right on Ray Street. Subsequently, the landlord asked him to move his location. So the landlord actually brought me on board to resubmit his special permit for the new location on the left. There is nothing changed about his project. The security has been approved. The entrance and the sally port are almost identical, as you can see. He's not doing any volatile chemicals, no extraction. This is a very simple cannabis manufacturing one-man team. And so basically this secondary special permit is to change his address.
And thank you very much for your patience, but it is usually our city engineer that has to wait. So every once in a while, I have to let him go first.
No problem, it went fast.
Thank you. Does anybody on the committee or in the audience have any questions? I'm not seeing any hands, so you'll have to speak if you do. And secondarily, is there any member of the public on Zoom or in the chambers that wishes to speak in favor or in opposition to this special permit request?
There's no one in chambers.
Not hearing anything or seeing anything. In that case, I would entertain a motion.
So motion that we close the public hearing for item 21.
Second?
All in favor? Bacon, yes. Maldonado Velez?
Yes.
Givner?
Yes.
Rivera?
Yes.
Jourdain?
Yes.
Okay, the public hearing is closed.
Motion that we
Permit.
approve item 21 for Carefully Curated LLC
With the same conditions as prior?
with the same conditions as previously read into the record.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor? Bacon, yes. Maldonado Velez?
Yes.
Givner?
Yes.
Rivera?
Yes.
Jourdain?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So that passes 5-0 and will be put on the agenda for the next city council meeting, okay?
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you. Motion that we open up the public hearing for item 22.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. So this public hearing is for a special permit extension application for Victoria Frost LLC at 579 to 689 Main Street and Bolio Street, property abutting 679 Main Street, to extend the special permit originally granted on August 4, 2020 to operate a cannabis product cultivation, manufacturing, and dispensary facility. Do we have somebody on the Zoom?
Victoria Frost? No. There's
Mr. Eunice is,
For Victoria Frost LLC? Mr. Eunice, if you would like to just give us a quick overview of the circumstances. You're muted on my screen. And if you can give us your name and address and a summary, that would be great.
I've been attempting to promote him to panelist, but he hasn't accepted the invite, but he does have ability to speak right now.
Oh, okay. Mr. Eunice, if you can hear me, it is your opportunity to address us for the special permit right now.
Do you hear me now?
I do. Very good.
Good,
If you could give us your name and address.
Sure. My name Abbas Yunus. I'm the owner of 689, 679, and 0 Boiler Street in Holyoke.
Okay,
And I like to, like extend the permit, special permit for that company because we've been we have the blueprint, we have the 3 licenses from the provision license from the state.
uh-huh,
We have the gas station over there. We close it right now to just start building.
okay,
We're waiting for the investor to just kick in and start
okay.
permit and build.
Okay, so it's simply a matter of you've gotten all this work done, but you're on to the final step to actually make it happen.
Absolutely.
Okay, Council Puello has his hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I just very quickly, I want to thank the petitioner, and I want to let the committee know that he did do his due diligence with an eye and Councilor Bartley, and I spoke with Councilor Bartley, and we're in full support. So just thanks for everything down there, and I hope the committee can get this through. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm not seeing any other hands. Is there any member of the public on Zoom or in the council chambers that wishes to speak in favor of or against this extension of the special permit? I don't see any hands. Anything in the chambers?
Nope,
Jose?
there's no one.
Okay, thank you. So, nothing from the public.
So
Motion to close the public hearing?
second.
All in favor? Bacon, yes. Maldonado Velez?
Yes.
Givner?
Yes.
Rivera?
Yes.
Jourdain?
Yes.
So the public hearing is closed. I'll entertain a motion on the permit extension.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Attorney Bissonette, do we need a date certain on an extension?
Good evening, Madam Chairman and
Good
members.
evening. Welcome.
The extension would be for a 1-year period.
Okay.
It would do it up to 40A rather than the ordinance, which doesn't set any timelines. But the maximum for a special permit to begin or at least make substantial movements toward a start is 3 years.
Okay.
Your current ordinance allows 2, his permit allows 2. And I would note that Mr. Abbas has also been very helpful through council with moving on an adjacent parcel to his convenience store that's also going to be part of the cannabis complex once that gets completely built and licensed. So it looks like it's going to be a very good project. They just need a little more time to get licensed.
Great. So just a clarification that this extension will be for a year. So
Correct, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Why don't we just add that, Chair, to just say an extension of 1 year, just for clarity's sake.
Agreed.
So that as amended, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so all in favor of the amended approval of the extension for 1 year? Bacon, yes. Maldonado Velez?
Yes.
Rivera?
Yes.
Givner?
Yes.
Jourdain?
Yes.
Okay, so we are recommending approval of this and it will be taken up at the next city council meeting, okay? And thank you for the work you've done so far.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
So motion to open up the public hearing for item 23.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Public hearing, special permit application amendment of Holyoke 420 LLC DBA Holyoke Cannabis at 380 Dwight Street to remove original condition prohibiting delivery, add suite number 4 for a new vault, add new Sallyport location, and amend hours condition so that they be set according to city ordinance. Is there a representative here for this public hearing?
Yes, Blake Mensing, one of the owners. Nice to be here, Madam Chair.
Okay, Blake, I did not see any paperwork with the attachments from our administrative assistant, but have you brought a packet for the committee?
We have some extra copies. There's only one council member in the chambers with us. We're happy to share that.
Right, but have you shared a PDF with our administrative assistant?
We filed it. Yes. Yes, the answer is yes.
Okay. So, Jeffrey, if for some reason I missed it, would you forward it to me again, if you don't mind? And I don't want to put you on the spot if we already had it, and for some reason I didn't see it, because we get a lot of attachments.
Yeah, I mean, I can describe basically what you ran through in the letter. This is really just an attempted bit of housekeeping.
Okay, well, so just to be clear, and I think you are aware of this, that we have had a complaint on this special permit filed to us.
Very aware.
So what I'm interested, and I don't seem to have it in my records, is an updated lease agreement with the owner of the property. And so I'm just interested in all those aspects of it. And do other members of the committee have the information in their packets? Jose, do you have it, or did you receive it digital?
I'm looking back at the email, and based on what I have in front of me and what I just received is the same thing that Jeffrey sent, along with all the materials. So item 23, yeah. I know it's a lot. There was a lot in the last one, but it is there.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so it would be great if you could run through it all.
Sure. The thrust of it is when we got our special permit back in 2020, delivery was not a thing available to anyone in the state of Massachusetts. So that has changed. And what we're seeking is the removal of condition 5, which has a prohibition on deliveries emanating from the store. To be clear, Holyoke 420 LLC is not a social equity company, so it therefore itself will not have a courier or wholesale delivery operator license. We would have to contract with another state licensed operator to make deliveries from the store. This courier license model involves the retail brick and mortar. So basically, the courier comes in kind of like an Uber Eats driver and says, I'm here to pick up this order. There's the normal age verification process and a couple other layers because it's not going to the actual delivery person. It's going to an end-use consumer where they must obviously verify their age as well. So yeah, I certainly understand why the condition was imposed. 2020 delivery didn't exist for adult use. It does now. So we're using this opportunity to clean up a couple other things that stemmed from the landlord's complaint. We have since settled with the landlord, and we have a lease that covers it. And so the other items are just some housekeeping that was on the advice of this body. We had been advised that when the city ordinance changed the operating hours, that we were allowed to change our hours, and we certainly understand now that we should have come here to amend that. So that's what we're doing here today. And the goal in the sort of language we used, I know the hours are today till 11 p.m. If the city were to say 11:30, we just want it to be, co-extensive with the maximum amount of time that the city allows. And just seeking to avoid, a litany of amendments if all we're doing is saying, however late the city allows us to be open, that's how late we want to be open. The other items are just adding the location of our approved Sally Port, as well as suite number 4 in the same building, which is something that we have a valid building permit for, a valid certificate of occupancy for, that we got the Cannabis Control Commission's approval on a structural change request form for, and just trying to make sure it's all in the public record on the special permit.
So have you provided us with a copy of the updated lease?
Yes, I'm happy to send another one. As part of our settlement, we added a lease that now includes units 3 and 4 just under one heading. Happy to share that, but the permission to use the property remains the same.
Okay, and the other question was, and this is a secondhand thing that came through our office to our administrative assistant was relative to an abutter. Are there any people from the public here to speak on this request for the amended special permit?
No one's in the chamber, but I don't know if anyone's on Zoom.
I'm not seeing any hands coming up on the Zoom. Jeffrey, did you have any indication that these people wanted to try to weigh in at this public hearing?
I did clarify with them when the public hearing was going to be. They received the notice. I gave them the opportunity to send me an email with a communication if they didn't think they were going to be able to attend. I had the sense that somebody would be attending to express any questions they had, but as you're seeing, it doesn't appear anybody's here to speak.
Yes. And Blake, just to go back for my housekeeping on the meeting, can you just give me your name and address for the record? I
Sure.
neglected to ask you.
Sure. Blake Mensing. Our business address is 380 Dwight Street, Suites 3 and 4, Holyoke.
Okay. And so, are you stipulating in the public record that this complaint from October 22nd has been resolved?
I mean, frankly, it's not material to the task at hand. I'm happy to tell you that, yes, we've settled with the landlord. We brought a lawsuit against the landlord, and that's what we settled. I think that was the genesis of the complaints.
Well, I'm only speaking to the matters that do pertain to us, which would be the signage, the use of the space, and the issue of the shared space relative to a special permit, because it's been pointed out to me by our city attorneys that we have to pay attention to, you know, how the neighboring businesses, et cetera, are affected by any changes in the special permits, as well as the other technical things
Sure.
that we look at.
Yeah, I'm happy to report we have settled. So yeah, all of the things that led to the lawsuit, we have agreed upon, you know, put pen to paper and settled that. So I am hopeful that any further sort of back and forth with the landlord is amicable.
Okay.
And I guess I would just note, you know, the landlords aren't here to oppose us. So I hope that tells you that they're okay
Well.
with what we're doing.
Well, sometimes neutral is a good thing. Okay. Is there any member of the committee that has any questions for the applicant? I'm not seeing any hands. Yes, Councilor Rivera.
Yeah, it just wasn't clear to me whether or not they fixed the situation with the violating the ordinance on the sign. Like, yeah, you settled, but that wasn't the question with the violation of the ordinance of the sign. Was that fixed? I guess it's
I'm not in receipt of any communications from the building department indicating any violation, and my understanding is that the building commissioner is the sole regulator in this city with enforcement power over the zoning ordinance. So in the absence of any communication from them, I'm not aware of any violation. We're not being, you know, yelled at by the landlord for anything that we've done on the property at the moment. So yeah, I'm not aware of any current issue relating to any of our signage. Although I will note we got our sign permit, you know, a few years ago before we put up signage. So no current violation to my knowledge.
So just to further clarify on Councilor Rivera's question, at a certain point in time, there was either a temporary sign or a movable sign or some kind of signage that was in dispute.
We removed all the signage. All the signage that's up today, today has a sign permit under it. So anything else has been removed from the premises.
Thank you for answering that question. There you go.
Yeah, I didn't get the question at first. Thank you for the clarification.
My bad. I had to pull it out.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Does anyone else have any questions for this applicant? I'm not seeing any. What is the will of the committee?
Motion that we close the public hearing.
Is there a second? All in favor? Bacon, yes. Givner?
Yes.
Maldonado Velez?
Yes.
Rivera?
Yes.
Jourdain?
Yes.
So the public hearing is closed. What is the will of the committee relative to the amendments to the special permit?
Motion that we approve.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the amendments to the special permit. It's been seconded. So all in favor? Bacon, yes. Maldonado Velez?
Yes.
Rivera?
Yes.
Givner?
Yes.
Yes.
Jourdain? All right, so this will go to city council at the next city council meeting for their action, okay?
Thanks very much. Just one really quick question. If anyone knows off the top of their head, because it's a permit modification, is anyone aware if there's still a 20-day appeal period after that? I don't believe so, but if you guys know. Okay, I'll look it up.
Attorney Bissonnette, could you weigh in on that?
Oh, I think Attorney Messing is correct that it's not appealable on the mod.
That's what I thought. Okay.
So it's not appealable.
Thank you kindly. I appreciate your time.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
I would point out one issue though. One issue that to consider, and I don't know if Blake has submitted this with his paperwork, the results of the police review of the Sallyport location, was that done?
Yes, that was included in the packet.
For the initial. Terrific. Thanks so much,
Yes.
Blake.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Attorney Bissonnette. Okay. So, I would like to entertain a motion to take up items 24, 25, 26, and 27 as a package.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So I'll explain. We do not have the legal form for these tonight. And so I'd like to take them up as a package and table them to our next meeting
Motion.
on March 28th.
Motion.
I know there's a number of them that folks have been waiting for, and we have the tabled item in city council also. So maybe if
motion-
we reach out,
You want me to do the motion to table items 24, 25, 26, 27th until March 28th?
thank you.
Can I have a question on that though?
Yes, Counselor Jourdain, under discussion.
Thank you. What's the holdup on elite? I mean, the one that seems really straightforward is item 27. What's taking so long on getting that in the legal form?
I can't say. I do know that things have been sent over and there may be other, I don't know, workload issues that we're not aware of, but Jeffrey has made the law department aware, and there may be different people handling different updates. And so I will try to follow up a little more specifically between now and our next meeting, okay? And if any of you wish to, on the orders that you have filed, feel free. I mean, I'm trying to discourage any communication, okay?
Yeah, understood. I mean, I don't want to be a wise guy, but when things are top priority for certain people, they're immediately put in the legal form within 2 weeks and turned around. Other items that are important, like some of these items, and I think of item number 27 here, which relates specifically to public noticing and proper public noticing, where we've already had a problem with people getting bad notice. And it's probably a 1-paragraph legal form. And it takes months to get done.
Yeah, I mean, we are looking at December dates, so hopefully we will have everything before us for March 28th.
Good.
All right. So on the motion to table these 4 items to March 28th, all in favor, Vacan, yes. Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Rivera,
Yes.
Jourdain.
Yes.
So that's 5-0. Thank you all very much. Oh, wait. First, we need a motion to adjourn, but I want to thank you all very much and forgive me for my informality using last names all the time. I would have gotten tongue-tied otherwise. So I'll
Motion.
entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion
And
to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor. Do we have to roll call for this too? I think so.
Yeah,
think so.
Why not?
Bacon, yes. Maldonado Velez.
Yes.
Givner.
Yes.
Rivera.
Yes.
Jourdain.
Yes.
So we're legally adjourned. And again, thank you all very much.